I'm John Leonard. I am Research Director at Computing. I tend to like press trips that they're kind of chaotic and out of control. So one that springs to mind is when a party got lost in the Nevada desert because the sat-nav didn't work. Another that springs to mind was a limousine trip down Lombard Street, which is that very windy street in San Francisco, which got stuck. So I like those. I also like trips that produce the unexpected. So back in my early big data days, I went to this Spark conference and I'd barely heard of Spark, and I was expecting 50 geeks in a room. But in fact, this place was packed and people were whooping and hollering and really super excited. There was a very low sort of PR control presence as well, so that was good. So I was just able to make my own interviews and chat to who I liked, and that was a really rewarding trip. It's great when PRs and vendors are facilitating our work. Obviously, there's loads of organisation that goes on to producing an event, sorting all the interviews out as well, so we do appreciate the hard work. Sometimes, however, vendors and PRs can act as blockers, so they're saying, oh, you can't talk to this person, or oh, you can talk to this person about this subject but not about that subject, or sometimes after the fact they'll go, well, that person said that but we don't want to talk about that. So they're obviously trying to direct us into the direction that they want to go in, which is fair enough. But I've spoken before about getting the balance right, between the journalist's need and the PR's needs. When PRs and vendors are too controlling over the narrative, they're not going to get a decent story out of us, to be honest, because either we won't bother writing it, or we'll just use a perfunctory quote and that'll be it. If they trust us, not to produce something which is going to be damaging to them, great. That's what we want. We're not hacks. We're not in it to try and do people down. There's no benefit to us doing that. We just want to find out the truth as they see it, and we will put that down in our own words. Sometimes too, this seems to be happening more often, we get invited to events where there's a star speaker that we're allowed to interview, and that we turn up and they go, oh no, that person decided they're not going to speak to the press now. That's very disappointing when that happens. Again, it leaves a bit of a bad taste. The other thing is PRs, please don't flood us with emails, please don't send us stuff which is irrelevant and that we're never really going to cover, because it just fills up our inboxes. And increasingly it gets filtered out by our spam filters anyway, so don't.